Okay, hi everyone. I am Jeta. I am founder of Babymoon. We are here today at the pop-up hub in Nijmegen, where we will be talking about World Prematurity Awareness Day. The solution that we're working on is actually a smart version of this carrier. Well, this one is smart enough, but we're taking it higher up because since 2016 we have been working on developing an electronic textile version of it that will have sensors and some more electronics that will enhance the children's lives by skin-to-skin care, while those infants being held in kangaroo care, which I will get back to it a bit later, their vital signs will be monitored and recorded by the sensors inside the lining of the carrier. And if we're talking technology, like specifically in the development of Babymoon, I was very, very stubborn on using something that will be non-invasive and will not bother the infants inside the carrier, while making the carrier as comfortable as possible and as simple to use as possible for the parents that are getting on a new stage in their lives. So with that, because I wanted it to be uninvasive, we looked into technologies that would use electronic textiles or printed circuitry so that it's soft, so that it doesn't bother the skin of the baby, and it would do the monitoring and the haptic physiotherapy and whatever else in a seamless and non-invasive way. So that's why the goal in developing the hardware is to make it like invisible. And actually the carrier itself, before electronics, it's hiding a lot of invisible features. So what at first glance may seem very simple is actually pretty complex. I mean, we already have 2 patents filed for the textile carrier, and yeah, so there's a lot going on. Now, going back to the kangaroo care concept that I mentioned previously, in the late 70s, there was this in Colombia and in Sweden around the same time. People in neonatal units started noticing that if you don't take away the baby from the parent, but instead put them in physical contact, their survival rates in prematures increases very significantly. That led to the point where in 2003 or so, the World Health Organization has published a guideline for kangaroo care where it encourages parents and care providers to keep babies skin on skin on their parent. And that practice is actually pretty straightforward. It's very simple. Yet, given the culture that we're living in, it is getting momentum. It is moving along. There are years and decades of research behind that. But in terms of like routine day-to-day practice of something normal, it's still getting there. And one of the reasons, well, there are a bunch of reasons for that, but for locations where it's hard to reach a doctor or the neonatal units are not well equipped, this intervention, the kangaroo care, is actually crucial for ensuring the survival of babies. And right now, today, our chief medical officer is in Tanzania at a hospital there, at a neonatal unit, kicking off our study there because we want to save all those babies that we can save with skin-to-skin care. And the point is that a lot of times, well, let me give you why do you want to do the skin-to-skin care. The infant has spent all these months inside the mother's womb, where it was warm, it was cozy, it was wet, it was like a bit tight. And then inside there they would feel the rhythm of your steps, they would feel the rhythm of your heartbeat, all of those internal sounds. And then here it is, coming into the external world, where like the environment is completely different. and putting the baby on the body of a parent, and in the first weeks, if it's possible, it's preferred to be the mother, but when she's not available, it's possible to do it on the father and on other adults. The thing is, what happens is that the baby gets a model to copy, so that they adapt better to the external environment. And this is very, very crucial for human infants, because we are not born like little horses are, because the horse is born and it can just walk somewhere, while a human takes another several serious months before it can, well, you first crawl. Well, before you crawl, you have to adapt, and you get to like learn to use all of your systems. So it takes some time for the human baby to become autonomous. But on top of that, preemies, and actually children born at term, we are born with underdeveloped hearts, lungs, thermoregulation, livers. So there are a lot of things that need baking before we can become like our own person. So when you put a baby in kangaroo care, when you care for it in close proximity to the body, what happens is that the baby gets a model to copy of your temperature. So then instead of adapting their underdeveloped thermoregulation, they just get to copy the 36.6 off of you. And just like that, they also copy your heartbeat rhythm, because they just mirror that. And then they copy your breathing rhythm. So for babies with breathing problems, just the fact that you put them on the chest of the mother, you prevent apnea, which sometimes can be a serious problem. And because in separation they don't have these models, these rhythm models to copy. And here, you just, by being yourself, by caring for your child with just mere touch, you get them what they exactly need, ensuring survival and thriving. On top of that, when you do this kangaroo care practice, when you do that skin on skin, the baby gets colonized with your skin flora, and that contributes a lot to developing of their immune system in a better way. So there are a million reasons for putting the baby skin on the parent. But then there's a bit of a conundrum. I can get the doll, like let's do that. I have a demo doll. So this is a bit of a bigger one. All our preemie demo dolls are now in Tanzania, so deal with that. This is a 1-month-old baby. So yeah, you can definitely hold the baby. It's fine. And even if they don't have muscle control to hold their head well, you can hold them, right? But then you're still an adult, you're still a grown person, you have your own needs for eating a sandwich once in a while, or whatever. I mean, in many places, the way kangaroo care is implemented is very limiting to the adult. And what happens, and I've been talking to some hospitals here in the Netherlands and in Scandinavia less, but how they implement kangaroo care in a neonatal unit. They would make the parent go to the toilet, grab their tea and sandwiches and whatever they have, and then they sit you for 3 hours in a chair, and you can't go because you have to hold your baby for the skin-to-skin care. And what we did, we thought, and it's not necessarily done like this everywhere, like no, but so for example, there are places where you get introduced to a wrap. And the wrap is this long 5-meter strip of fabric, which is perfect for tying the baby up and putting it on your body, but it has a bit of a thing because it comes with a learning curve. So you have to practice a bit to get to feel how to tighten that piece of fabric so that you get the hold, the hold right, that the baby is held like in your arms, but with your arms free. And when we're talking about like neonatal care and neonatal units, we're talking about parents who are already going through a stressful situation in their lives. So when you're stressed, you're not too good at learning. So what I wanted to do when developing this pattern, I wanted to simplify the process of putting the baby, holding it in the kangaroo position, but to do it in a way as simple and as easy as possible, so that the process of learning how to tie the baby in the right position is accessible to most people. So basically what we did, we made this buckle carrier, and it's like, yeah, there are a million other buckle carriers. But the thing with them is that most of the buckle carriers are not suitable for newborns, because newborns and preemies, they are very tiny, especially some of the preemies. But then again, they also don't have the muscle control to control their body position. So they need a special level of support. So, and most buckle carriers do not provide exactly the same level of support as a wrap would. So that's why usually parents with newborns are introduced to wraps. So I wanted to figure out the best possible hold for the baby, so it's supported along its whole spine, but just as well as simple for the parent. So what we did is we took the tension lines from a traditional, like thousands of years old Asian type carrier, and then we transposed it on the carrier pattern. So we put buckles on that. Because that baby is a bit smaller, I will fold it to make it less deep for our today's little passenger. So yeah, there are many tricks that you can do. Also, a lot of other carriers, they are pretty bulky and hard to, well, it's not that they're hard to maneuver, but they are bigger. And they come with a lot of padding and a lot of different different ties and different snaps and buckles, so you have to figure all of them out. And what we did with Babymoon, we just put 3 buckles, nothing more. So then you just get your straps on, get the buckles up and tight, and there we go. We have good support, but the baby is held. Let's get it nice and tight.
You can do it by yourself.
Well, you definitely can do it by yourself, and what you also can and must have is that the baby is supported like from up here along the whole spine length, and also from knee to knee, ensuring the good orthopedic position for the baby. Yeah, so, and then it grows with the baby, because you saw me folding it. Like when the baby gets bigger, you get the bigger hammock without any extra effort, extra buying, and these can get shorter. I'm just not doing it now in the video. But one thing that's different is that I was particular about having the support for the baby happen on the top line, because that's where they need most hold. Because normally when you hold the baby in your arms, you do it like that. And like, I'm showing you a party trick, don't do that at home. But the way it's done, if I unbuckle the belt, it would still hold the baby. Because the main hold line is on the top and not on the belt. Because it actually holds the baby like your arms. So aside from being very tiny and being able to pull it off like this, and like you can do this skin on skin, and you can see our pictures if you look them up. We do show that skin on skin, that's the best way to do it. You can just grab something and put it on top. And at the same time, you can now dance. Well, you don't dance with a preemie, I'm going overboard, but the point is that it allows you, for example, to take the stairs without any extra effort. And when I'm talking health monitoring, like you already have the best position possible, the best hold possible. Well, so then what we did is we worked the electronics into the lining of this carrier. So in your day-to-day routine life, you just have the baby here You can take the stairs or whatever you want to, and drink some water by using your own hands. But then the electronics that are inside the lining use Bluetooth to pass the information about heartbeat, body temperature, and all of those interesting facts about the baby's health and development to the care provider. So then you can also, like, you don't have to bother about all the cables and whatever. And when we're talking like hospital monitoring, a lot of times they use stickers to put the electrodes on the baby. And when we're talking newborn skin, that skin is super soft, super sensitive, super thin. And when you get that sticker on and off all the time, that's not the best thing. And again, here, because of how the carrier supports the baby and how it's tensioned, you get the right adherence, and you don't have to bother the baby with all the stickers and with all the cables that pull and tug. So we wanted to make it wireless, we wanted to make it comfortable, we wanted it to make it invisible and seamless and pretty minimalistic, but at the same time, like, very functional. So I think we have done a pretty good job so far. It's still, but it's a work in process. We're working every day to make it better and better. So yeah, that's Babymoon in a nutshell. It's also, the carrier itself is as tiny as, someone made a picture on Instagram with the carrier being as small as a pack of wipes. So when you're talking about an older child, you actually can, like, if you have a diaper bag, you don't have to carry like a full suitcase. You can just fold it and go travel. So yeah.
For me, it's clear.
Okay.
Can you maybe tell something about your personal motivation? So, like, are you a mother or?
Well, my personal motivation, actually I used to do advertising a million years ago, and then in 2006 I had my first son. He is 14 now. I have 4 kids in the meantime, so my youngest is 3 years old. And I actually I came to Nijmegen being pregnant when I started working on the smart Babymoon. And Trajan, my youngest, he was chief executive baby, and he still is, but he's now chief executive toddler. He got upgraded. So he was one of our main testers in 2016, 2017. So all my kids were born at term. I didn't have those experiences, but then as of 2006, I started making a different style of baby carriers. But my motivation was actually sharing this baby wearing experience with other parents, because I discovered it somewhat accidentally. And then I was wowed, like, wow, this is so amazing. This frees you up so much, but at the same time, it gives you the possibility of looking your baby in the eye and being able to understand what they need from you. Children cry less, so you get to keep your, a big chunk of your normal adult life routine, but at the same time you integrate the baby into your life rather than breaking your life up to adapt to the new situation. So it actually, you can see it in our logo, because the concept of mirroring is in there. Because we at Babymoon Care, we look at the mother-baby diome as this mirroring system, with the parents actually being in the middle and the baby being their satellite. And when you let the baby be your satellite and you integrate them into your life, they get to learn from how you live. And there's the saying that children never do what you tell them to do, they do what you do. So it kind of compels you to be your best version of yourself, because you want to pass on to the next generation what you want to pass on, right? And there's a thing, because yes, right, today is World Prematurity Awareness Day, and we're talking about infants and the first few weeks of life. But actually, the human child is dependent on the parent for a bit of a longer time. Actually, they start walking after their brain doubles in size from their birth volume. And there are a lot of like little points like that. And the practice of baby wearing actually allows you to do this literally up until the babies are like, Mom, I don't want to I don't want in your carrier anymore, and they will run away. They will. They do not get used to that's a myth about like, yeah, you'll carry your baby to university. That will not happen. But nonetheless, in the first 1,000 days of a child's life, this is a very valuable practice. And well, just yesterday I was remembering we were talking on a call with baby wearing specialists about like language development. And in my practice, I've seen this many times. When the baby in the first months of life gets to see you face to face all the time, when they get muscle control, they get to start using it. One of the things you noticed around 3 months is that they copy the mimical expressions of the adult they spend most time with. So they get to see, in the first 6 months when you wear them on your front, you get to show them how you interact with the world. And then later, when the baby hits 10 kilograms, specialists recommend you put them on your back, and they recommend a high back carry so that the baby can see over your shoulder. And after that, you go on with your life, you go pay the bills, you like, I don't know, do grocery shopping, meet up with friends. You get to show the baby how the world interacts with you. So they get to see, so they get this special social integration pattern that we kind of have lost. It's our biological norm according to some researchers, but we have lost it along the way. So the return of baby wearing as a practice is a good thing, I think, because yeah, it's not for no reason. And I was remembering yesterday there was this experiment where some parent groups, they have put a video camera and they were filming what the baby gets to see in a carrier and what a baby gets to see when in a stroller. And in the stroller they got the hanging thingy in front of their eyes, and their eye level is much lower, so they get to see knees most of the time. While here, the baby's eyes are actually at a level of of a teenager. Like, they get to see faces, they get to see interaction, they get a different angle in social integration. So for me, actually, coming back to your question about my story, I started the business when my son was 6 months old, and he was with me every single day during that year. So by the time he started talking and drawing stuff, one day we were at this like meetup, and he was, I don't know, a year and a half, maybe 18 months. And he brings a paper and says, Mom, I want to write a contract. Because he saw me write contracts every time, because he would come with me to the meetings. And then my daughter, who is 2 years younger than her older brother, with her we've spent her first year at a textile factory a lot, and I don't sew, and nobody in the family does. But then when she was 4, she just chopped up a dress. And then she sewed it with red yarn, which was like, what did you do here? And she said, like, Mom, I like sewing. Don't you know that? And I'm like, who taught you to sew? And she's like, I always loved this. And I was thinking, where did you learn this? And then I realized that she spent her first year of life actually at the sewing workshop, at the textile workshop at the factory. So I was like, yeah, you spent your first life chewing on yarns on the floor of the workshop, so that kind of makes sense. But the fact of children copying us as adults is much bigger than copying just the heartbeat and the breathing rhythm and body temperature and all of that. It's actually like letting us as adults, letting them learn what it's like to be a human, like from the lowest level to social, to physical, to all of those stages. So by allowing parents and encouraging attachment practices, we actually have a huge impact not only on the survival of preemies, but we also have an impact on the parenting skill and the confidence of parents today. And there was research that was saying that baby-wearing moms get less postpartum depression, for example, because you get to socialize just well. So, and I have, well, in my 14 years of working with this, I have seen a lot of parents start their own business while with a newborn and not separating with them. Or, I mean, it frees you up to do a lot of things as an adult, but at the same time, you really have a huge impact on the next generation. So you get to grow a next generation that is safely attached, and that's a psychological term, and secure attachment and organized, disorganized attachment. And children that have a bit of a different social integration pattern than this separated model has given us in the past 100 years or so. So that, and then on top of this, we're working on the electronics. And there's also a point that I didn't mention, and actually baby wearing is a skill. So it's something you get to learn, and you learn by doing. It's like riding a bike in many ways. You don't get born with this. And there are studies that show that parents who have been coached and who have been assisted by someone experienced in baby wearing, they have a better experience with that, so they get to do this more. And what we have done to make it, again, more accessible for parents and easier on them, we have created this coaching app, because not everyone and everywhere you can find a baby wearing consultant or someone experienced. So we decided to put the consultant in the pocket of the parent with like cues about that thing, like I said, about like 10 kilogram babies are better on your back, because every kilo on your front is 5 kilos for your spine. So you will need your spine later on when the baby grows and runs away. So yeah, I've been doing advertising. Then I had kids. I never ended up replying to your story. Then I had kids, and then yeah, for the past 14 years I have been doing this, and then the last 4 I have been in Nijmegen, developing the smart carrier and like taking it up a notch basically.